Thanks, mate. Already this weekend, we've taken the term boys have at it to a whole new height. The gloves are off in more ways than one here at Texas. The hammer has been put down by NASCAR, and we have the latest coming up on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Ooh, close, wide into turn 4. That moves KyleBusch all the way up the racetrack. He has to catch it before he gets in the wall, and Hornaday catches the wall. And KyleBusch is going to turn the 33 into the wall. Our championship contender, Hornaday, in the wall.
Well, KyleBusch should be parked for this race and maybe the rest of the season for that.
He just drove me in the fence. I mean, just ruined a perfectly good race car.
If I just lay over and give up everything for Ron Hornaday, that's not KyleBusch's fashion. I'm out here to win a race just as much as anybody else is.
We had an incident between the 18 and the 33 trucks that resulted in NASCAR parking the 18 truck for the balance of the event.
Now, we all know that Chase is heating up, but a couple of drivers were pretty hot under the collar Friday night. Ron Hornaday and KyleBusch got into it in the Camping World Truck Series, and as a result, KyleBusch got parked for the entire NASCAR weekend. Let's take a look at exactly what happened Friday night in the Camping World Truck Series. The number 33 truck is Ron Hornaday's. That is white. The 18 black truck is KyleBusch's. Kenny, what do you see?
At this point right now, the 33 of Ron Hornaday gets loose. They're both wounded right here, Kyle. Both of them can fix their trucks and still come back to win, but oh my.
Oh yeah, and you see either the 33 car slows down or truck slows down, and the 18 speeds. He hooks him, and he looks like he's trying to spin him in the inside. Spins him into the outside, takes himself out too. And when you look at this, you see the 33 car is already wounded, or 33 trucks wounded.
Yeah, now at this point though, they just got a fender rub. They can still win the race. But right here is when the whole racing world is in shock. We haven't seen anything like this in a while.
Yeah, and when you look at this, you know, he hooks him on the right and turns him into the outside wall. The thing is, what happened down in turns 1 and 2 was a racing incident. What happened here is totally different.
And that is exactly what NASCAR saw after the damage to that number 33 truck. After all that, there were several different sides of the story. Kyle's, Ron Hornaday's, and the owner of the 33 truck, Kevin Harvick's.
I'm out here to win a race just as much as anybody else is. And when he races up on my inside, gets loose, and takes me up to the fence, I ended up losing my cool. And I've been wrecked 4 weeks in a row, and finally I just had enough of it. And so I'm sorry it was Ron Hornaday, and he's going after a championship. But the fact of the matter is, it's just, you know, you can't place all blame on one person. There was 2 people that got into it to begin with, and there was 2 people that ended it.
I knew there was a lap in there too. I moved up on the straightaway. He stayed on the quarter panel, and I don't know. We just touched a little bit, I guess. I don't know. But he knows I'm going for a point still. I don't know why he didn't do it. But anybody got a cup car, he'll never win a championship again. I mean, this is just stupid. I mean, he knew what I was going for. He knew I was there. He had to lift too. I mean, if I'd have lifted, I'd have hit the back of the slower car, so slower truck, and it would cause a big wreck. But he just drove me in the fence. I mean, just ruined a perfectly good race car.
Kyle definitely showed his immaturity and why he's, you know, just one of those guys that's just can't stand to lose and just a poor loser. So it's unfortunate for Ron. It's too bad that, you know, a guy that's over here trying to win races got in the middle of the championship fight, and you know, at some point he'll feel the pain.
But the governing body of NASCAR had the final say. They parked Kyle for the remainder of the truck race to begin with, but knowing more penalties were on the way, several important players were called to the NASCAR hauler for an early morning meeting on Saturday before Sprint Cup practice. Team owner Joe Gibbs had just arrived at the racetrack. When he made his way into the meeting, he was followed by team president J.D. Gibbs and, of course, driver KyleBusch, who was involved in the on-track incident Friday night with Ron Hornaday. Michael McDowell is filling in this weekend for Busch, so that could be the good that comes out of all of this, is that McDowell gets a chance to drive one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. After the meeting, it was announced by NASCAR that KyleBusch had been parked for the weekend, the nationwide race and the Sprint Cup race. It's only the 3rd time in the last 10 years that such a move has been made. And for more, let's go to the race day starting grid, starting with Wendy Venturini.
Thank you so much, Johnny. And we will hear from the guy sitting in for KyleBusch, Michael McDowell, coming up on race day. But first, we want to chat with NASCAR President Mike Helton. Mike, we know this boys have at it mantra has been in place for 2 years. What was this situation? How was it different compared to other drivers and why they hadn't been parked in the past?
Well, I think what we saw Friday night was taking retaliation to a very aggressive level, one that we've not seen before. And you know, as annoying as I think some of the statements I've made in the past about when asked what the line is, I said we would see it, or we would know it when we see it, and I think we saw it Friday night. And there was just multiple circumstances involved in that particular occurrence that led us to the actions we took.
And now we know, obviously, he was parked for the nationwide race. He's parked for today in the Cup race. Come Tuesday, any further implications by NASCAR? Any chance more penalties will come down, or is this the end of it?
Well, it's certainly an immediate action under 9-12 in the rule book to do what we did yesterday morning and to announce it. And we'll take a look at it tomorrow after the weekend. We'll focus on the rest of the weekend, get the races in, and then take a look at all the circumstances we've had from the weekend like we typically would the week after.
Okay, well, thank you so much to Mike Helton joining us on race day on a very busy morning for him, but no doubt he's not the only one that has a little extra work to do this weekend. Hermie Sadler has more on the other side.
Well, thank you, Wendy. The other side of the story is Joe Gibbs Racing and how they've dealt with the fallout from this parking of their driver, KyleBusch, for the weekend. Joe Gibbs changed his plans, got to the racetrack early Saturday morning to talk with NASCAR, and then he spoke with our Bob Dillner right here on Speed.
First of all, I just said that we had a meeting with NASCAR this morning. They explained their reasoning, and you know, we love our sport. We think NASCAR does a great job of handling things, and we kind of all talked that over and kind of understood what their reasoning was, and we trust them. And our situation now is it's a tough situation for us, and we just want to try and handle it the right way with all the people that are impacted by this. And so that's what JD and I will be doing for the rest of this weekend.
Well, I tell you, we've heard from NASCAR. We've heard from Joe Gibbs about what their reaction is. Joe Gibbs has definitely got some damage control to do with the sponsors of this Joe Gibbs Racing race team. The people we're not talking about a whole lot is the guys that are actually working on this race car. I talked to Dave Rogers this morning right here. These guys, what did you have to do to this car to accommodate Michael McDowell? Well, first of all, they had to change the steering box. Michael McDowell preferred a different steering box. This seat in this race car is a LaJoie seat. Dave Rogers was a little bit proactive even before he knew the penalties were coming. He asked that his Nationwide Series shop put this seat on the Penske plane and fly it to the racetrack in case Michael McDowell was the choice. And overall, this team had to do a lot of work. And one of the things that people are not talking about is these guys are severely affected by this action with KyleBusch not being in this race car. As Dave Rogers said, Kyle's our driver. We go to war with him every weekend, and they're a little bit disappointed by Kyle's actions leading him not being in this car today. They want to finish as high as they possibly can in the points and try to win every race, and they know this hurts their chances today. But all that being said, they're excited about Michael McDowell being in this race car and going to work very hard to get the best finish they can possibly get under the circumstances. Johnny?
Hermie, thanks a lot. Now, KyleBusch did release a statement. He said he's had a lot of time to sit and reflect and to put his thoughts into words after what happened in the Truck Series race. Everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing and KyleBusch Motorsports, he wants to apologize on behalf of them after talking to his team. He said it's great to have their support and encouragement, and also he thought what took place driving for his own truck team was what he apologized for. He'd also like to apologize to Ron Hornaday and everyone associated with the 33 team, and he says he understands why he was taken out of the car for the rest of the weekend and why NASCAR officials had to act. He says he accepts their punishment and takes full responsibility for the actions. As a race car driver, the hardest thing to do is to sit on the sidelines listening to cars on the racetrack, and he says he has no one to blame but himself. And the statement went on to say, through a lot of support from the people around me, he feels like he's made a lot of strides this year, but was certainly a step backward. Moving forward, he'll do everything he possibly can to represent everybody involved in a positive manner. However, he says, I know that my long-term actions will have more of a bearing than anything I say right now. Sincerely, KyleBusch. So he made the apology, but afterwards, there's so many layers to this story, and one of the biggest implications, as Joe Gibbs pointed out on Saturday, Kyle, was the sponsorship implications. Mars M&Ms and these fans come out there to see KyleBusch behind the wheel of that race car.
Yeah, and I think this is not about KyleBusch. I think Kyle got lost in it and thought, this is all about me. This is not all about KyleBusch. It's about his family. It's about NASCAR. It's about that team. It's about his sponsors. And as important as anything else, it's about these people you see behind me and these people that sit in the grandstands that buy those products and buy his souvenirs. There's a massive ripple effect. There's people that paid money to come to this racetrack to see see Kyle Busch set in that race car. There's a company out there, multiple companies, that paid money to bring that race car here. Kyle Busch's actions spoke louder than his words. I appreciate his apology, but I think Kyle really has to read that apology and think about what that apology says and what it means, and then take those words and turn them into actions. So far this weekend, the actions have spoken a lot louder than his words have.
You know, I've been thinking about this, and I have been defending Kyle Busch since 2005. I'm one of his biggest fans. If you've ever watched this show, I'm like, give him a break. He's a great race car driver. I love Kyle Busch. Well, I can't defend him anymore. He's one of the greatest talents of all time, and I get that. That's why it's so disappointing to me. You know, we've been talking this year about how this is a new Kyle Busch. He's changed. Well, you know what? This is a big step backwards, and I'm going to be rooting him on for him to overcome this. You know, we've been waiting for this great race car driver to take control of this sport and be like a Jeff Burton. We've been waiting for Kyle Busch to run the garage area. Why? Because he's an incredible talent. Wouldn't it be great to have an incredible talent, a great race car driver, match skills inside the garage area and go, hey, guys, look, you can't be doing that. So this is a big step backwards. I'll be rooting him on, but I think this one's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to see if we can get him back to help lead this sport into the next years.
So, gentlemen, is the punishment enough? Is this enough? Do we need more punishment for Kyle Busch?
What do I think?
What do you think?
Okay, my opinion is no. Punishment is not enough. But I thought Carl Edwards should have set out 3 weeks too. That was Kyle's opinion, not the opinion of this network or any of its affiliates or anybody else. My opinion, because I thought that was as blatant an incident as anything I'd ever seen, coming out of the garage area and wrecking Brad. This incident ranks right there with it. I don't say it's any worse than that incident, but I think those are two marks where when the NASCAR says, we'll know it when we see it, I think they saw it once and didn't act on it. I think they acted this time.
Kenny, in your opinion, is this punishment enough, sitting down for 2 races?
I agree with Kyle on this one. I agree the punishment fits the crime. And I'm going to go as far as to say, look, there might be more reaction, you know, from Joe Gibbs Racing. You know, we hear rumors that maybe Joe Gibbs might do something. You know, when does it come the time that the team takes responsible for the driver? Right now, NASCAR's doing all the ruling, but I must say this. The biggest topic I see on Twitter is, why was this different than what Carl Edwards did to Brad Keselowski? Let me explain to you, and let me be very clear about this. What happened is Kyle Busch has been warned. He has been on probation. Remember at Darlington when him and Kevin Harvick got into it? So Kyle has been on probation. He's been in a lot of trouble. And I feel like NASCAR said, listen, he's out of control. We've got to get control of this. So Carl Edwards has always been a good guy, good for the sport. He's never done anything wrong except for that one moment.
So let's check in with Twitterville right now and take a look at who's saying what on Twitter about this, because as you can imagine, well, Twitterville blew up. Here's Darrell Waltrip. He says the surefire way to get a race car driver's attention is to tell him he can't race. Points and penalties won't do it. Parked will, and that certainly is what Kyle Busch said in his statement. There's one word that keeps Kyle Busch from being a great driver: respect. Without it, you're never going to be a champion, and that is a 3-time champion, Darrell Waltrip, saying that. Great driver, but his actions against Ron Hornaday are beneath a champion. Kyle should use his talent in a positive way, not negative way, and that is coming from Mario Andretti.
Wow.